The off-season does not start until the first Woj bomb drops, and recently it did. It finally started. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new look Eastern Conference. What teams got better and which ones got worse? We're going to go over all the details and all the major acquisitions. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and without further ado, let's get started. First off, let's start with the big one, the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they got much better. Much better. It's insane, actually. They did lose D'Angelo Russell to the Warriors, but still. This might be the greatest offseason by a single team since Miami got LeBron and Bosh. I don't think I need to explain this one. The only issue here is that they will not be legit contenders right away. The previous report said that Durant will most likely miss the entire 2019-20 season. So with just Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan plus their current roster, it's unlikely they could win the championship with just them. But when Durant does come back, they might be the best team in the league. That's only at their best though, but they probably won't be. There's a lot of things to consider, like Durant's injury, the severity of it, and not many players can come back from an Achilles tear. And even a year from now, everything could change. Next up, the Milwaukee Bucks. Worse. Despite the Bucks' fantastic season, there were always some questions lurking around the corner. Roughly half of their roster and most of their important players would become free agents this offseason. They don't have the cap space to re-sign everybody, so they had to let some guys go. We saw Nikola Mirotic accept an offer to play in Barcelona, and that's fine. But then they lose Malcolm Brogdon. Well, they didn't lose him for nothing. They technically did a sign-and-trade, sending him to Indiana for a future first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. I think Brogdon is worth more than that. It's just a product of the Bucks not wanting to pay him, so they sent him away for cheap. Brogdon just had a great season, averaging over 15 points a game on ridiculous percentages. He even led the league in free throw percentage at a whopping 93%. However, the Bucks did manage to keep Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and George Hill. Middleton was signed to 5 years, $180 million, which is insane, but that's how much they need to pay him to keep him. The Bucks' only real addition so far has been Robin Lopez, who will be a decent backup center behind his brother, and they could spend time sharing the floor together. That'll be pretty cool. They also picked up Wes Matthews from Indiana. He's not the same player as before, but he's proven to be still a good rotation player. They're all capped out now, so this is going to be the team they'll be running with for the next few years. And speaking of Brogdon, might as well cover the Pacers too. They signed Brogdon to 4 years, $85 million, which might be a slight overpay right now, but judging by his career progression, he's still young and he's likely going to get even better. The Pacers also signed Jeremy Lamb to 3 years, $31 million. Lamb is another guy who just had a career season, averaging over 15 a game too. It's a solid move, however they did lose Bojan Bogdanovic, who went to Utah, and he was their leading scorer after Oladipo went down. But next season, Oladipo will be back, and the Pacers should be better. They also lost Darren Collison, who retired. They lost Tyreke Evans, who got banned for doing drugs. They lost Corey Joseph, their backup point guard, and they lost Thaddeus Young, a solid player and veteran leader on the team. But I don't think any of these guys were as impactful as Brogdon and Lamb were last year. The Charlotte Hornets. Worse. A lot worse. Honestly, I don't know what the Charlotte Hornets are doing. They didn't offer Kemba what he wanted. I believe the Hornets offered him $160 million over 5 years, but Kemba wanted $175 million. The Hornets did not agree to that, but then they go out and spend nearly $60 million on Terry Rozier. That's freaking crazy. They might as well have paid Kemba the extra $15 million that he wanted. But no, they got Terry Rozier instead. He's a decent backup point guard, but that's it. I think he got a bit overhyped after the 2018 playoffs where he led the team after Kyrie went down. But afterwards, he went back to being Terry Rozier, an inconsistent backup point guard who's worth nowhere near $20 million a year. But I guess the Hornets think he is. The Boston Celtics. Slightly worse. They essentially replaced Kyrie and Horford with Kemba and Enes Kanter. Now, talent-wise, Kemba and Kyrie are similar, but Kemba might fit a bit better with the Celtics, and he's likely a better teammate too, so he should fit in better. But going from Horford to Kanter is a significant downgrade. Kanter's a beast in the paint and a great rebounder, but Horford was the perfect big man for the Celtics. He fit into their defensive game plan perfectly. Specifically, his ability to aggressively switch onto wing players and also take on the big guys down low. Kanter obviously has never been known for his defense, especially not his pick-and-roll defense or his switching. I don't think any player in the league could replace what Horford provided for Boston. They'll still be a very, very good team, just slightly worse than before. On to Philadelphia, slightly worse. Yeah, they did get Al Horford, they kept Tobias Harris, although on an overpaid 5-year, $180 million contract, but they lost Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick, two key players on their team, especially Butler. Horford is about 33 years old, and there's no telling how valuable his contract really is. By the third or fourth year of his deal, it probably won't be that good. Although, maybe not. Horford's game should age well. He's now going to go back to his natural position at power forward, playing alongside Joel Embiid in the front court. It should be a good fit, since Horford's ability to pass and shoot the three is something that Philly was sorely missing at that position. They needed a big man who could do that, and Horford is that guy. They also received Josh Richardson from Miami for Butler, so he could kinda fill in the gaps, but he's no Jimmy Butler. Losing a bona fide star and closer like Butler will definitely hurt them. He was the go-to guy for most of the playoffs. The Miami Heat, better. The recipient of Jimmy Butler. Not much to say here, even though the Heat did get substantially better by adding Butler, I don't think they're on the same level as the other top contenders of the East. They might win 45 to 50 games next year, somewhere around that, maybe finish as a 5th or 6th seed, but I can't see them doing any better than that. It's a great move nonetheless. Miami also traded away Hassan Whiteside, which is basically for salary purposes to fit in Jimmy Butler. But Whiteside was regressing as the year went by, and eventually his minutes decreased and he would get benched. It's not a huge loss. The Orlando Magic, better. They didn't do much, they just re-signed Nikola Vucevic, who just had an all-star season. The contract was 4 years, $100 million, which is honestly a lot less than I thought he would get. It's a good deal for both sides. Great move by Orlando. They added Al-Farouq Aminu too, a versatile wing player, but overall a low-impact move. Also, they re-signed Michael Carter-Williams for 1 more year, which is alright. The Washington Wizards, slightly worse. They did not do much. They re-signed Thomas Bryant to a very team-friendly contract, 3 years, $25 million. He improved drastically as last season progressed, and going forward, he's probably going to be their 3rd best player behind Beal and Wall. Unfortunately, they did lose Trevor Ariza, but it's not a huge deal. They did pick up Isaiah Thomas, but at this stage of his career, he's a huge question mark. The main loss was trading away Tomas Satoransky, a solid backup point guard, and then they signed Ish Smith, another decent backup point guard, but Ish is a little bit worse. Satoransky was low-key one of the best, most consistent backup point guards in the league last year. He even filled in for Wall when he got injured, and he filled in very well. The Chicago Bulls, better. They lost Robin Lopez, but got Thad Young and Satoransky. The Bulls needed a reliable backup point guard, and Satoransky fits that bill. Thad is a good player too, and just had one of his better seasons. The Detroit Pistons, better. They did not do much either, but getting Rose for just 2 years, $15 million seems like a solid move. It's a low-risk, high-reward move, because Rose could once again bounce back and have another great season like before. At times, he still looks like a star, which he showed off in Minnesota. Now, I don't think getting him moves the needle for the Pistons. They'll still be a lower-seeded playoff team. And finally, the New York Knicks. Once again, we got nothing. Well, not really. Apparently, James Dolan did not want to throw a lot of money at Kevin Durant because of his Achilles injury, so the Knicks missed out on him, but they probably wouldn't have gotten him anyway. They missed out on Kyrie and basically everyone else. But they did get Julius Randle, who just had a phenomenal season with the Pelicans. 3 years, $63 million is a great deal for him. I mean, that's approximately the same contract as what the Hornets gave Terry Rozier. So at least I'm happy that another team is screwing up even more than the Knicks are. The Knicks also picked up Taj Gibson. He's a bit older now, reaching his mid-30s, but still a solid player. A great leader and a great teammate, which this young Knicks team really needs. Then afterwards, they went out and signed Bobby Portis to 2 years, $31 million. That seems like overkill to me. The Knicks basically got 3 power forwards in free agency, and I don't think Portis is good enough to be paid $15 million to be Randall's backup. Then they signed Wayne Ellington to 2 years $16 million and Reggie Bullock for 2 years $21 million. They picked up Elfrid Payton as well for 2 years $16 million. So basically, the Knicks missed out on all the big names and instead got some overpaid role players. But overall, despite not getting any superstars, I'd still say the Knicks did pretty well. I mean, it's better than nothing, right? They had a lot of cap space to use up, and none of these are long-term contracts either. And that's all, folks. That was my review of the Eastern Conference after all the trades and signings. In general, most of the average teams in the East last year got better, while the top contenders like the Sixers, Bucks, and Celtics, they got a bit worse. Right now, if Kawhi stays in Toronto, they'll still be the top dogs of the East, and they'll be even more dominant next year because their biggest competitors got worse. The real question is with the Nets, and if Durant comes back and returns back to form. Achilles injuries are devastating, and Durant is getting older, but if he could somewhat return back to form and still play like before, the Nets will be right up there with the Raptors competing for the championship. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.